This is the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
Brought to you by the North Law Firm. For car accidents and negligent security cases, call Joe at 239-337-1191. By Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers, where you can report crimes and get paid with nobody knowing your identity. Call 1-800-780-TIPS. By Solomon's Air Conditioning Incorporated. No matter what the weather condition is outside, have it your way inside. 239-693-1569. And by Lee Health.
Welcome to Closing Arguments with Attorney Joe North. In this particular segment, we're going to do somewhat of a case study on negligent security cases. Why on negligent security cases? It's because I have found that many of you do not know that if you are the victim of a crime on somebody else's property, that you're able to go ahead and file a lawsuit or claim against that property owner and their insurance company. So what we're going to do today is give you a fictional case. It's not a real case, it's not real people, but it's similar to a lot of the cases that I handle every day at my law firm, just to give you an idea of how these cases work. So what we have is a fellow by the name of John Smith, and he's going to visit his grandmother at an apartment complex called the ABC apartment complex. And as he's walking across the parking lot, this guy comes up to him to try to rob him. Well, John's not hearing that, so he tries to defend himself, and the robber, unfortunately, shoots John in the stomach. John suffers severe injuries, and because of that, John now has a claim against the apartment complex. And let me just stop there for a moment. I'm saying apartment complex, but we're really talking about any commercial property. It can be a nightclub, it can be a shopping mall, anywhere where the property owner is taking in profits from the public. And because of that, they have a duty to have that property in all safety that they can. So what is the law of the land? The law is that across America, a property owner has a legal duty, a responsibility, if you will, to have reasonable security measures in place to prevent foreseeable crimes from happening on the property. And if the property owner fails in that duty, if they violate that policy, that rule, then they are responsible for any injuries that happen on the property. So John Smith walks into my office and he tells me what happens. So I tell him, and I would tell you, and I would tell 6 people sitting on a jury the following things. John and I have to prove 3 things. Number 1, that what happened to him was foreseeable. Number 2, that even though it was foreseeable, the property owner did not have reasonable security measures in place to try to prevent that from happening. And then number 3, the absence of security was a cause of what happened to John that day. So with that backdrop, let's look at what the evidence would show. So through my investigation and research and my staff, we've uncovered that during the year or 2 before John was shot, that law enforcement had been called to that apartment complex more than 100 times for things like robberies, burglaries, car break-ins, even some shootings. So was what happened to John foreseeable? Absolutely, because it had been happening there over a long period of time. This was not something that was out of the blue. This is not something that was totally unexpected. It was foreseeable. So then the next question becomes, what did the property owner do in the face of that foreseeable crime? Because they knew about all of these things happening. Did they have reasonable security measures in place, like a security guard, surveillance camera, a neighborhood watch program, or proper lighting for the nighttime hours? In John's case, ABC apartment complex had none of that. Even though they knew that this thing could happen, they did not have reasonable security measures in place. They took the rent from the tenants, they took the profits, So they put money in their pockets, but they did not put any money into the property. And because of that, they violated their rule, that law that says that they have to keep that property safe. So then the next and final question becomes, well, was the absence of security a cause of John being robbed and being shot? And in this case, reasonable minds, collective wisdom would say yes. Why? Because we all know that a criminal, if he or she sees a security camera staring them in the face or a security guard over to the left, then they're not going to commit the crime that day. They're going to go and find some other property where there is no security. So because on this particular day there were no security measures, that criminal was able to go ahead and commit that crime. So what happened was a cause. And we do not have to prove, the law does not require us to prove that the absence of security was the only cause. We don't even have to prove that it was the major cause. All that we have to prove is that it was a cause. And John has proven that. And what does John get for proving that? Well, he gets money compensation for everything that he's going through and will go through for the rest of his life, because John has lost wages now because he can't work. He has medical bills piling up because of hospitalizations and surgeries and doctor's visits. And then he's got pain and suffering. And I'm not talking about just the physical pain. I'm also talking about the mental pain, because any psychologist will tell you that gunshot trauma or trauma from being a victim of crime, that's unlike any other type of trauma. That's far worse than like trauma from a car accident, because it affects you in a way that never heals. Every time you hear a loud noise, it sends you back to what happened that night. You don't want to go out and socialize because you fear what could happen again. It affects all of your relationships. So we have to get compensation for John because of that apartment complex's failure to have security in place. So that's, in a nutshell, what a negligent security case is all about. And the reason why we bring these cases really is twofold. One, to get compensation for John for everything that he's gone through. But two, so that we can convince this property owner to do better next time so it doesn't happen to somebody else. So those are the reasons why we bring these cases. So the only other thing that I want to talk to you today about during the closing arguments with Attorney Joe North is we are on the eve of the Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration and the Black History Month. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about 3 African-American attorneys who've had an impact on my life and have had an impact here in Lee County. And those people are Judge Isaac Anderson, Judge James Adams, and Judge Archie Haywood. They've been trailblazers and they've had a significant impact upon our community. And I can tell you that when I or other African-American attorneys go into those courtrooms or other African-American litigants, the courtroom is a more comfortable place because we see African-Americans in charge in that courtroom. So that's today's edition of Closing Arguments with Attorney Joe North. Stay tuned for Lee Pitts Live, which is coming right back. Thank you.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello, everybody. This is Lee Pitts, the host of the award-winning Lee Pitts Live here on Fox 4. We appreciate you watching our show here on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, clicking below. Let everybody else know that they can subscribe as well. Also, when we're on the air on Fox 4, you can also catch us streaming live at 8:30 a.m. in the morning on fox4now.com. Just click on live and you get us all types of ways at your convenience. That's Lee Pitts Live.